Jesus said, "I am the gate." A gate is a very powerful image for us when we reflect on it. The school gates that we first nervously stood outside, unable to let go of our mother's hand. The factory gates where many earned a hard living amidst heat, dust and smells and hard graft. Or the factory gates now closed and rusting in changing times. The church gates through which we walked to Sunday school, to get married, to have a child baptised, or to say goodbye to a loved one. The stadium gates he first impatiently went through as a youngster to see a football match under floodlight. The garden gate, at which you stood waving off children or waiting on their return, or times you stood chatting to passing neighbours, or perhaps anxiously awaiting the postman. A gate is a very powerful symbol of entering and exiting, of fear, anxiety, excitement, of perhaps feeling locked in, or of feeling safe and secure. Gates we have become so much more aware of recently are those which give us access to the various walks around the countryside, and they've taken on greater significance recently. As we go out on our forest permitted walks, we often find ourselves at a gate. Do we open it or not? Do we enter it or not? Or do we find another route? We know there's an etiquette to gates. If we find them closed, we leave them closed. They're closed for a reason. If we find them open, then we really leave them open because they're open for a reason, perhaps to let livestock get towards water supply. And just now, we use sanitizer or wipes, or we wear blue gloves when opening and closing gates to protect ourselves, to protect the people who come after us, and to protect the farmer. We've become more aware of gates and their dangers as well as their necessity. I don't know if you have ever seen a film called The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Not the greatest film, but good entertainment. I always remember it because in it there are a couple who have a large house with a large garden. They have a young man who has disability, who does odd jobs for them. One time the wife asks him if he would build a fence and a gate around this large garden, pointing out where it should be. He pauses and he looks round, and then he asks, "Do you want the fence and gate to keep people out or to keep people in?" Always struck me as an interesting take. Makes you think about the purpose of fences, of gates. We often speak of it as a barrier, an entrance, an exit, perhaps a nuisance. We may speak of a gate as artistic, beautifully crafted, or perhaps plain, sturdy and functional. So it's interesting that Jesus uses this image of a gate as a metaphor for himself, while linking it to the image of the shepherd. He doesn't say he is the gatekeeper, he says he is the gate. Because in a sense that's what part of a shepherd's life was, to be a gate. We know the image in the old sheepfolds where there was no physical gate. The shepherd would lie down in the opening, permitting or preventing entry or exit. He acted as the gate to the sheepfold, keeping the sheep safe. We may well see a gate as a barrier, a divide, sometimes between those who are in and those who are out, those who are welcome, those who are not. And yet here Jesus is speaking of himself, yes, as a barrier, but also as an entrance, a way in. Jesus, the gate, opens and closes the way for us, letting us in, letting us out, keeping us safe while being the gate to the pastures of abundant life. The gate is first and foremost to keep the sheep safe. And safety is paramount because of the value of the sheep, certainly, but also because of the love the shepherd has for them. It's fundamentally not about rules and regulations or legislation, judgment or permissions. It's there because the shepherd cares for the sheep and desires that they be safe. We're currently behind locked doors, locked gates, if you like. And although it's difficult at times, we see the sense for our safety, for the safety of others, for the safety of those who are caring. Whatever our politics are, we try to listen to the voices of those we have elected, believing it is safer for all of us. The desire is to keep us safe, well. True compassion begins with our relationship to and with others. And in these strange times, true love is actually keeping our distance from others. A good neighbour just now crosses to the other side of the road to avoid the other. So when Jesus says, "I am the gate," he is actually speaking about the very nature of compassion, love, and safety for those in his care. Too often in church history, the image of the gate has been a locked gate to separate those who are in from those who are out, those who are saved from those who are not. But Jesus' image of the gate is not a barrier, but an opening, an entrance and an exit from fear to a pasture of abundance. And to discover the nature of that is to enter into his way, his life, his journey, his field. For there we will discover the very nature of love as we enter more closely into the heart of God. I have come that you might have life in all its fullness. I will lead you into a field of nourishment, playfulness, community, light. But first, I must keep you safe. So trust in me. Listen to my voice. I am your good shepherd, says Jesus. Amen.